This is Golden Years, a roadmap to navigate retirement with Mark Cordner, the podcast.
You know, year after year, the studies show the number one fear of people preparing for retirement is, of course, running out of money. A new Morningstar study backs that up. It actually found that if you retire before the age of 65, you have a 45% chance of outliving your savings. A 45% chance. That's a big deal right there. You know, the number one reason that they cite is the elimination of the pension, right? The pension, very few and far between these days. So if guaranteed lifetime income doesn't come from your employer, in the form of a pension, is there a way that we can create our own personal pension, Mark?
Oh, absolutely there is. And people need to, first off, recognize that it's not their employer's responsibility. There's kind of been that belief over time that either the government or our employer should take care of us, but the prevailing belief should be that we're each responsible for our own future. And yes, there are ways to create guaranteed streams of income. I mean, that's basically the attraction of a pension, is it's money that you can't outlive. It comes to your mailbox, it comes to your bank account every month, and because it's coming, you have peace of mind, you have confidence, you have less stress in your life. And the way to accomplish this privately is through what many people call a personal pension, and that's an annuity. An annuity is a unique insurance product that can only be done by insurance companies, because remember, insurance companies are ones who know life expectancies, and therefore they're the ones who know how long people are going to live. They're the only one who can hedge both sides of that bet. And so insurance companies provide life insurance in case we die too soon, and annuities in case we live too long. It's both sides of the seesaw, as it were. And so an annuity is income, again, that we can't outlive, and that can be set up on a single person's lifetime or on a couple's joint lifetime. And it's a wonderful thing to have income, again, that you can't outlive. And so I personally, for example, will periodically roll money out of my 401k plan and purchase an annuity. I've got multiple annuities now. I will own even more before I'm done. But I do this to secure the money, to get it out of the market in a principal protected manner where it can either grow safely in that principal protected fashion, or it can be designed purely for income purposes. And what we've learned is that we can generally pull multiples often out of an annuity than we can pull out of a mutual fund type account. And so the old rule of thumb has been what we call the 4% rule. They said that, if you never pull more than 4% out of your account, you'll never run out of money. Well, the academics have proven that not to be true. They say if you're dealing with a mutual fund type of account, you probably shouldn't take more than 2.5%, at most 3%. Well, we can certainly pull, twice that much out of an annuity as we get up to age 65 and 70 and the normal retirement ages. So for people who are not aware of these kind of insurance instruments, these products, they should learn more. Come visit with us. We can teach you. Certainly it's not where you put all of your money, but if we want to create a baseline of income, we want to look at things like Social Security, and then look at maybe rental income, and then look at annuities and say, okay, how can we create a basic living standard? And so we know that we're going to have dignity going into our life. We don't have to fear running out of money. That fear can be totally eliminated with the stroke of a pen. Come learn, come visit with us, and we can teach you how to identify what you have coming in, what the gap is between that and what you're going to need, and how to fill that gap in a manner that can give you total confidence to go live your life and not worry about money.
Now, this documentary looks pretty cool. It's a new, inspiring documentary making the rounds on the film festival circuit. It's called What's Next? And it's about Dr. Howard Tucker, age 102. He is the longest living neurologist in the world. The American Association of Neurology asked, what's the secret to longevity? And then I think in the back of their minds were saying, why in the world are you still working? Listen to this.
Everything in moderation, except no smoking. I exercise, I eat whatever I want, watch my weight, and don't smoke. I enjoy every day. I enjoy family. I enjoy friends. I enjoy work, enjoy my wife, and stay happy. And that's every day, a lifetime of happiness.
I love that. A lifetime of happiness. I mean, I think right there, that's the key of just living longer and, man, just enjoying what you've worked hard for. Right, Mark?
I love his perspective there, and that's probably why he lived longer, right? Not only his habits, but his outlook on life. This is a critical thing because none of us really know what our exit date is going to be. And so we have to prepare with longevity in mind. That's the number one risk facing people nowadays, is that they're going to live longer than they expected. And that, we call it the great risk multiplier, because the longer we live, the greater the likelihood we have of facing certain risks. There's about 17 that we track with our clients, but risks like increasing taxes, inflation, healthcare problems, these kind of problems we're more likely to experience the longer we live. And so I often tell people when we do these classes out of the college that if you really want to test your thinking, go talk to a life insurance agent. I don't care what company. There's 2,000 odd life insurance companies in the U.S., and for about 10, 15 years now, all of their illustrations have gone out to age 120. And people don't realize that. 120, think about that. Insurance companies are required to reserve enough money to last the lifetime of people that are now on the planet. And 120 is what they're planning on. My assistant's aunt just died at 110. And so people are living longer, and we have to plan accordingly. Now, the stuff I'm reading, if you want a great book, there's a book by Rick Edelman and Peter Diamandis. Peter Diamandis is a futurist. Read anything you can from him. But it's called The Truth About Your Future, and it basically says we need to rethink these 120 expectations and look at numbers like 140. Now, that's hard to get the mind around. Doesn't say that we're going to leave the world with the same parts and pieces we were born with. You know, my mom had a lot of robotic parts before she passed. The idea of living longer presents all sorts of wonderful, wonderful opportunities as well as challenges. And so if you haven't thought much about this, come visit with us, because there's a very real likelihood that people will run out of money prematurely simply because they didn't plan well. And what are your options when you run out of money? You know, if you're in your 80s and you run out of money, surely what are your options? It's a difficult situation and also a wonderful opportunity. None of us really can forecast what's coming here in the next 10 to 15 years with the kind of super convergence of science and technology in the health field. It's a wonderful time to be alive, but it presents unique challenges.
You know, John Singleton, he was a famous Hollywood filmmaker. He did things like Too Fast, Too Furious and The Shaft. He passed away in 2019, weeks after slipping into a coma. His family was horrified to find out that he had made a will back in 1993, but didn't update it and never named an executor. So after drawing up the document, he fathered 6 children with multiple women. And it made me think, oh my gosh, there's got to be some estate planning lessons that we can learn from this.
Oh my heavens, yeah, there's so many famous people we could think of, like, you know, Elvis Presley, Nat King Cole, the Wrigley family, all these scenarios where people didn't do proper planning and suddenly assets were lost or things were complicated. I mean, look at the passing of Prince here a few years ago and all the arguments that have gone on within that family. Because you'd be surprised how many scenarios we have where I'll sit down with someone and I'll look at their documents and discover that, you know, there's a person's name I don't recognize, and I'll ask, like, who's Sue, for example, and Jill, the new wife, is looking at him saying, why is Sue, the former wife, still on your documents? You know,
That's
these
awkward.
These are awkward, funny situations, you know, and you kind of got to laugh at them, but it's tragic. I mean, literally at this conference I was at last week, a guy was telling how he was dealing with a woman who had inherited all of her ex-husband's money and all of the grief that the ex-husband's family was going through because she got it. And of course, she wasn't giving it back. She was grateful for it. So, yeah, so if you don't know where things are at, now's a good time to talk. Certainly before the stroke hits. You know, after the stroke, we can't communicate our preferences. And so in John Singleton's case, after the coma, you can't communicate your preferences. You've got to get this stuff out in writing. I'm a big advocate of family meetings. So not only do we have legal documents in place, we also have supplementary personal documents with instructions that just refer to our personal preferences. Like I've told my family, I don't want a female nurse. I'm a traditional kind of guy, and I don't want to blush because some strange woman's bathing me when I'm in my 80s. These kind of instructions, there's things that attorney can do, there's things that you personally can do, and we help our clients with this stuff, of course, but then having those family meetings where we actually get this stuff out on the table. It's a great gift to our families, to the people we love, to get this kind of planning taken care of earlier, sooner than later, and start communicating those preferences. You don't have to get into all the number details with your kids, but you should certainly give your kids the gift of knowing what to expect.
Now, Mark, you and I sit here each and every single week, and we talk about a lot of things. And the whole idea is trying to help our listeners and say, look, call us if you have questions, concerns, all these ideas. And I know in the back of their mind, a lot of them are thinking, well, wait a minute. Am I at the right time of my life to hire a financial advisor? Have I done enough to hire a financial professional? What do I do here? Well, if you're wondering if it's the right time, you might be thinking, well, is there a certain age? Or, again, have I matched that level of savings? Well, a financial website, Market Watch, they have flipped that question around and asked, when is the worst time you can hire a financial advisor? And of course, the answer came back later, because we all know sooner is better than later. So how many times have you built a retirement plan for, let's say, a new client, and you hear, man, Mark, I wish I would have come in 5-10 years ago?
Oh, constantly. That's number one response we get from people, especially those who come to our public events. We just finished a series this last week, 80 households, and everyone's always saying, oh, I wish I had heard this so many years ago, 5, 10, 20 years ago, whatever their comment. We tend to work most with people between the ages of 50 and 70, specifically those between the age of 55 and 65 is kind of the red zone, as we call it, as they're preparing to retire. Obviously, the earlier we get with people, the more they can learn. And I love your analogy there of the puzzles, putting the puzzle pieces together, because those who have experience with puzzles know that there's always a border. There's those 4 sides. And if we can get those 4 sides in place, then we can fill in the center a lot more easily. And many people who are new to this retirement planning game, as it were, they haven't ever experienced, the puzzle making process. And so they don't realize there are actually borders there. There's some structures that the professional is going to see very quickly. And he's going to realize, okay, here are some issues we're going to have to start to address, particularly when they're health-based. Sometimes we're doing long-term care planning. That has to be part of the discussion. Less than 7% of advisors discuss that, but long-term care planning is the number one time bomb. And things like that, the earlier we can deal with it, many of the solutions or strategies for solving the problem are based upon today's health. And so the younger we are when we deal with that, the greater the likelihood is that we're in good health. Not that people in poor health can't access strategies, it's just those strategies. It's kind of a good, better, best. If we want to get into the very best strategies, the earlier we start, the better. The later we start, then windows are starting to close. And issues like Roth conversions from a tax planning standpoint, ideally we want to have all the Roth conversions done before age 63. Definitely before age 73, so we can avoid required minimum distributions. But people don't realize, for example, that when you go to claim Medicare, health insurance for people 65 and older, they're looking at your income from age 63, from 2 years prior. There's an income trail. And if people have been doing Roth conversions at age 62, 63, 64, well, those conversions land on top of their active earnings, and it makes them appear to have artificially high earnings. And thank you, President Obama. He said, the more you make, the more you should pay for Medicare. And so those people end up paying more for Medicare and not getting one iota benefit more than any other person who just came in off the street, as it were. So again, timing makes a world of difference. And if people have questions about this, they should contact our office. We'll share a free informational tool with you that kind of gives you the kind of the key dates, as it were, in retirement planning, where certain mile markers, as it were, on the path need to be addressed. But definitely, the earlier people start, the better they are. Those who are going to benefit the most from a professional, I think, are really going to be between 50 and 70, 75, maybe at the high end, but 50 to 70 is really where we focus, because we're helping people transition into and through retirement. Our goal here with my firm is to get people to what we call a work optional lifestyle. And I say work optional because sometimes, yes, people do need to kind of give a gesture to the man and leave a job. If they have prepared properly, they can do that without anxiety. So we want people to be financially prepared. So if they need or are forced to leave the workforce at a different time than they originally thought, they'll be okay. So if you choose to work, great. If you can't work for whatever reason, great, as long as you're prepared. So a work optional lifestyle is really the goal that we're trying to get people to. A professional's expertise is really what's needed to give people the confidence, the peace of mind they need to be able to leave on their own terms. I literally had a woman in this last week who just needs to be done with her job. And the truth is she's prepared far, far better than she thought she had. And I said, say goodbye tomorrow. I was literally able to say that in the first meeting. There was no question on my mind we could make her lifestyle, her spending rate sustainable. And I just said, you could put your notice in tomorrow. And there was some real emotion that came out.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
She just needed that confidence from someone else who's been down the road with hundreds of people. We want to get you to a work optional lifestyle so you can decide. You live your life on your terms.
Mark, I could sit here and throw out different questions to you, for the remainder of the show. But what I think is important is that, those listening, whether they're new to the show, maybe they've been listening to us for quite some time now, I want them to understand really why you do what you do. Why is it so important that you care about some stranger off the street being able to retire with confidence?
Well, I think at its core is the fundamental understanding that life is not about money. Money is truly just fuel. And so to the degree we can set up a roadmap for the kind of destination and experience that people want to have, I vicariously get to live through my clients. Literally this morning, I had an email from a client thanking me because we had given them the confidence to make that second home purchase. In this case, it was back in the mountains of northeastern Georgia, gorgeous country. And, here we are in Vegas, but he's getting that home out there closer to the grandkids. Matter of fact, we had someone in the prior week who did a similar thing. I don't know where all the grandkids are in Georgia nowadays, but, to be able to give them that confidence is important. Maybe a fundamental difference is for us, it's really not about the money. I mean, money, again, is the medium. It's the fuel to get you to the experiences. And so we're all about what are the experiences you want to have and how can we help you not be destroyed by the common pitfalls that people encounter in retirement. I mean, there's holes in the road, that people encounter. We can help them survive that. And so that gives us incredible satisfaction. I mean, we have the tools and we have teams of people that work with us. I mean, you come into my office, you're going to see a half a dozen people and think that's it. But the truth is we actually have dozens of people on our team scattered around the country that specialize in different things. Like we have people who specialize in Social Security, they're on retainer. We have people who are tax experts, legal experts, product experts. So we literally have dozens of people on our team. And you don't have to work with the big firms nowadays. You can work with a small local advisor who has lots of experience, who in my case is, a lot of educational background in this area. And you can get the help that you need to live the kind of life that you want to live. It's not about the money. The money is just the medium to get you there. And we can design a plan so you can focus on the experience of the journey. And so we'd invite people to come in. I mean, I genuinely love helping people have that light bulb go on, help them have that moment of clarity when they realize that they're free. They're free then to choose how they want to live their life going forward. And it's incredibly cathartic for them, and it's a wonderful emotional payback for us to see people through that. Again, that's why I get the thank you notes that I get from so many clients. They've seen the light, as it were, and they're going on to live their best lives.
Investment advisory services offered through Golden Years Financial LLC, a registered investment advisory firm. Insurance is offered through Golden Years Insurance Services. These firms do not provide legal or tax advice. Consult your own legal and tax advisors before taking actions that may have tax implications. Investing in securities involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Insurance contracts' principal protection is based on the claim-paying ability of the respective insurer. None of the information contained on this website shall constitute an offer to sell or solicit to buy a security or insurance product. The information and opinions contained on this site or requested from this site are provided by third parties believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. They are provided for informational purposes only and are not a solicitation to buy or sell any of the products mentioned. Any media logos and or trademarks contained herein are the property of their respective owners, and no endorsement by those owners of Mark Cordner, Golden Years Financial, or Golden Years Insurance is stated or implied.